Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to another all-new episode of PR from the Heart's Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. To be precise, we have reached episode number 42. That is the 42nd trolley stop here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, here at PR from the Heart. My name is John Masiulionis, the manager of PR from the Heart and the co-host of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, joined as always each and every month by my faithful furry friend and forever companion, little Forrest, who reminds me that he is not only we're one another's faithful friends and companions, but he also reminds me that he is also the co-host of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast and my co-host in this journey called life. We, of course, are joined each and every month by our dear friend and our fellow neighbor. We just had the opportunity to spend some quality time with him outside of the context of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast in our recent trip to the Steel City, the home, the birthplace of Mr. Rogers. You remember him and you love him as the beloved Mr. McFeely on the popular long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We know him and we love him as David Newell. David, I hope that you are enjoying your autumn. It's interesting because people will always ask, are there really 4 seasons in San Diego, David? And for the most part, there isn't. But I did want to have a little bit of a nice sweater day, because when you head into the autumn, when you're in the month of October, it is sweater weather, as many people would actually
Well,
say.
actually, it's sweater weather now here in Pittsburgh. The sun is blue, but it's a little chilly outside. So winter is upon us. But I hear the old farmer's almanac say we might have a milder winter. But you know something? I love snow. A lot of people don't, but I love snow, and I like the 4 different seasons. And that's one of my favorite things about living in Pittsburgh, because there are 4 distinct seasons.
Very much. Yeah, and we are still enjoying the autumn season, but you're right. Sooner than we know it, we're going to be heading into the holiday season, and the wintertime is going to be rolling around. But we're always about enjoying the present moment here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. Before we, of course, get into the rest of the program, if you are new to our program, if you are new to our neighborhood, what David and I take the time to do here each and every month on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast is a little tip of the cap to David's character, Mr. McFeely. We deliver heartfelt reviews from the newest children's books that are available from the shining stars in the world of children's literature, from those who are published by some of the largest publishing houses in the world of children's literature, to those children's authors who are on the rise in the process, whose journeys, their author journeys, are just taking flight. And of course, parents, educators, librarians, grandparents, caregivers, there really is a lot of children's books that are on the market, David. Statistically speaking, there is the most number of children's authors and the most number of children's books that there's ever been on the market. So oftentimes, especially parents and teachers and educators, they can feel overwhelmed. So again, what we do here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast is we like to let parents and grandparents and educators know what is available on the market in the world of children's literature for children, grandchildren, students across the country and around the world to be able to enjoy. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to about this particular episode, we always feel the presence and the spirit of your longtime friend and colleague, Fred Rogers, with these 2 books that we're sharing here for our October bookcast for episode number 42. We really feel the presence of Fred Rogers that much more, because there's really a connective thread with both of these titles, David. The fact that we're going to be doing our part to be able to raise up the spirits of children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books, especially those children who are just beginning their own journeys in the process. Subjects such as self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, and self-love. Those are 4 very important selves, especially for children. And the 2 books that we are sharing really going to be they're getting to the heart, to the core, to remind children that it is okay to fully love all parts of yourself, and that they have the permission to have high self-esteem, self-worth, self-value, and self-confidence, One other housekeeping note, David, before we continue on with the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, because you know we're all about the housekeeping. We like to keep a clean house here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast and here at PR from the Heart. If you are also new to the program, or if you joined us for many trolley stops going back now nearly 4 years, one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, if you feel called and guided to do so, especially with these particular messages that we are sharing here on episode number 42, you can subscribe to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel. Share this very special trolley stop that you are now enjoying, that is episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, and share this on your favorite social media platforms of your choosing, and pass the word along, especially maybe someone who is struggling with their self-worth, their self-value, and their self-love. Or maybe you know someone whose little one is navigating through some of those sorts of challenges. The support that you give to the children is so important right now. And in the process, we really appreciate the support that you are giving to us here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, so that we can continue to be able to have these messages that we share each and every month at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast reach far and wide. We are almost approaching, David, if I'm not mistaken, and by the time this episode actually premieres, we will be hovering around 20,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So we want to, again, thank you for all of your support from day one of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast to now. And also each and every month here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, we like to pledge our support as a little tip of the cap, as a way to give back to our favorite friend and neighbor, Mr. Rogers. We are proud and privileged to be able to pledge our support for Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh. Now, Reading is Fundamental, if you did not know, they're the largest children's literacy non-for-profit organization in the country. And there are many affiliates all across the country. There is a Reading is Fundamental affiliate located in Pittsburgh. Did you know that last year alone, Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh delivered over 100,000 children's books to over 23,000 children in need? They provide literacy tools, connective to really being able to help kids connect to the love and joy of reading in a very palpable, tangible fashion. You can pledge your support for Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh. As we like to say here on the program, no donation is too large, no donation is too small. You can head on over to rifpittsburgh.org/donate. We've included the link in the description below. But again, so those resources, the children's books, all of the literacy tools that Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh provides, the more support that you can give to them, the more support that they can give to children, especially that come from low-income families in the Steel City, David. It's so important to keep these messages going in terms of giving back and connecting kids to the love and joy of reading, connecting kids with their self-worth and their self-value, because we're heading into the holiday season very shortly, and that is the time of the year where emotions and feelings can be a little bit more sensitive, and why it's really important, especially our children are very connected and rooted in who they are, David.
That's right. And these two books really focus on what you have already mentioned. And the first one is called Fantastically Me. Is that the one we're starting with?
That is correct. And we, and the trolley, of course, we like to rack up a little mileage here. The trolley has their own version of frequent flyer miles here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. Of course, as always, we start off every program, every trolley stop, every Neighborly Reviews Bookcast episode. We go from San Diego to Pittsburgh, and then we head to the beautiful city of Rochester, New York, just a stone's throw away from where we actually grew up. The origins of PR from the Heart was in Buffalo, New York, but in Rochester, New York, you will actually find award-winning children's author Sharmilla Fassbender. She is the co-creator of Fantastically Me, which, interestingly enough, is a fantastic children's book, by the way. And again, being able to help kids connect with their emotions and connect with their feelings, but really help them to lay a foundation that their self-worth, their self-value, and themselves overall altogether are inherently important. So one of the favorite things that we like to do here in the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast is when we crack the cover and we dive into the pages of the brand new books that we are sharing and spotlighting and reviewing here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. So David, let us go inside the pages of Sharmilla Fassbender's Fantastically Me.
Now, she had a co-writer too, is that correct?
That is correct. Sharminy Selvanathan. So we also want to be able to give a shout out to Sharminy as well. In addition, the illustrations from this book are so sweet, so touching, so simple, but so moving at the same point in time. Sylvia Fassbender did a great job with the illustrations as well. So we always like to give proper credit and courtesy where and when it's due here.
That's right. Okay. And you just have.
We have.
And now I'll start with my notes. I've got my trusted notes here.
Trusted notes.
And you have to pardon me because I have to refer to them and read some of them because I took some quotes I wanted to mention. Well, the story takes place in the Bear Hill neighborhood, and it's New Year's Eve, and there's going to be a talent show. Well, Bear Hill is where 6 friends live, and when they hear there's going to be a talent show, all they can say and yell is Yahoo! They're looking forward to this talent show. Well, the first illustration shows a performance stage, and it has a sign saying Happy New Year. So they're starting off the new year with a talent show. And it's, as many of the books that we have talked about and reviewed, they're written, this one is also written in verse. And each character introduces themselves, and I'll go through the characters. There are 6. For instance, Lexi Lemur, right? Lexi is a lemur. That's how you pronounce it, Lemur. Lexi.
You know, one of the great things, David, especially about animals, is that there will be some kids that will call them lemurs and some kids that will call them lemurs.
I've always said lemur, so that's what. But lemur, I think, is closer to what the biologists want. At any rate, Lexi says, "A song I will sing." That's what Lexi's going to do for his talent. Marcus Monkey shouts, "With my tail I'll swing." Ethan Elephant trumpets, "Ball tricks are my thing." Zazzy Zebra chuckles, "Big laughs my jokes will bring." And James Joey, a kangaroo, says he loves to build and demolish what he builds. So that's what their talents. Oh, and the 6th friend says, "My tap dance will impress." And the 6th friend is Frederick Flamingo, and he chimes in too. Now it could be Frederick or Frederic. I don't know, but it's could be Frederic. But at any rate, it could be one of the two. But now that I set the stage for the story, it begins when friends get a glimpse of, now here's a word for you, Cain Kamehameha. Kamehameha?
The great thing, David, is that our inner children are fully present because, of course, we always want to be able to give proper courtesy and respect to the names of the characters in all the books that we always feature here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. But one of the things that I really love about these characters, first of all, like you can tell Zazzy Zebra, there's some alliteration that's there. So I can just envision if you have a grandchild and a grandparent reading the story and they're just having fun with the character's name.
Oh, yes.
Or you know, if you have a mom reading to her daughter or a father reading to his son, just the antics saying, you know, what's your favorite animal? Is it James Joey? Is it Frederick Flamingo? So yes, Cain Kamehameha. I believe that we're going to go with that.
Okay. Well, Cain is a butterfly and a very fancy one at that. Oh, and by the way, I looked up that name in the dictionary, and the name, it was a real king, a king in Hawaiian history, known for uniting the islands during the time of the great cultural change. And this was a couple centuries ago, but so the name is based on a real king. And it has some ties because cultural change, and now the book, and his cultural change is still influencing children. It's coming down. He's named in a book, and hopefully children will pick up his love for the culture. Well, Cain says, my magic will dazzle. That's the butterfly saying that. And thrumping his wings, shazam, and ribbons explode in the air. All colorful ribbons explode in the air. And that was his talent. The friends are so impressed with Cain that they rethink their talent so as to be more like Cain. Well, Lexi Lemure, I guess, or Lemmer, sings her song and leaps through the air, trying to compete with Cain, but she comes crashing down on the ground with a thud, and she loses her sound.
Mm-hmm.
The lesson she learns is that her talents are best when she is fantastically herself and not someone else. And then she sings her song so beautifully that her friends clap and whoop. Now, that is her lesson that she learned. She is fantastically herself, doing her own talent. Well, next to perform is Ethan Elephant, and he adds some jumping as he twirls a ball. But thud, he lands heavily on the ground. Next to perform, here's his lesson. He then realizes that his talents are best when he is fantastically himself and not somebody else.
So one of
now,
David, I just wanted to mention, if I may, young readers and readers of all ages actually will hear that same anthem repetitively mention that the specific animal, we've already talked about two of them, that they realize that their talents are best when they are themselves and not someone else. So one of the things, David, that you and Lady Aberlin and Neighbor Aber and Fred, everyone on the neighborhood, you always had that positive reinforcement for kids, that repetition, which is key. And Sharmilla is doing that throughout the course of the book. Not to give a little bit of a spoiler, because we're only 2 animals in, and I believe we have 4 more to go.
4 more to go.
But that positive repetition is so important and imperative for not only kids, but also for us as adults too, because we have our emotions and feelings as well.
That's right. And sometimes we want our talents reinforced by others too. So now where are we? Well, the elephant just thudded to the ground, and but then he realizes that his talents are best when he is fantastically himself and not somebody else. There's what you'll hear a lot of going through this. Mm-hmm. He begins to show off his skills, and his friends cheer at his amazing tricks. He goes back to the tricks that he knows and his talents, and he's successful because he is being himself. Then Marcus Monkey decides to add ribbons to his act because they are so colorful, and he thought it would add a dash of color to his act. But instead, he got caught up in the ribbons and became tangled in knots. And once again, Marcus then realizes that his talents are best when he's fantastic himself and not someone else. He gets rid of the ribbons, and with his acrobatic skills, does a somersault and lands on his feet. And there was thunderous applause from his friends. And now it's Frederick Flamingo's turn, and he thinks he needs to hear the hum of his wings just like Cain's. And he hopes that it brings an extra beat. But the trill of his wings was not the right beat, And he too learns that his talents are best when he is fantastically himself and not someone else. And the natural rhythm in his feet and a high kick so impressed everyone that he got a standing ovation. Now it's Zazie Zebra's turn, and he thinks his act needs some card tricks. But whoop, the cards fall, and he loses his way, and his act ends in disarray. Well, I think that reinforcing the lesson of the story after each friend, as you said earlier, realizes that their talents are best. So, and Zazie Zebra realizes his talents are best when he is fantastically himself and not someone else. So, and it's good for the reader to have this reinforced after each animal realizes that their talents are the best, not trying to be like Cain.
Agreed.
So
and one of the
now
things,
let's see. Oh,
go ahead.
yes.
Well, I was just going to
I'll
mention.
finish up what Zazie then did.
Yep.
Zazie proudly shines his perfect punchline jokes, and his specialty is knock jokes. And he gave a flawless delivery with his knock jokes. The crowd loved it. Now, James Joey, the kangaroo, gets great height with his two-leg bounce, but he thinks that with 6 legs like Cain, the butterfly, he will have more power to build a structure. He falls and knocks over the structure and brings his act to an end. He thought the stilts would help him build a higher building. James, too, realizes that his talents are best when he's fantastically himself and not someone else. So, boink, James bounces with his natural bouncing talent and stacks the building blocks higher and higher. And when his building starts to lean, it crashes to the ground. Crash. And James Joey, that is, feels so proud because his own talent helped him build the tall structure. And he seemed to enjoy the loud noise it made when it tumbled. And his friends cheered, and he felt proud. And concluding the story, Cain said, "You all have such talent, from singing to crashing blocks and dancing the tap and acrobats and jokes and ball tricks. How cool is that?" That's what Cain the butterfly said. And Marcus the monkey offers a toast. And here, I think, is the message of the story. Belief in oneself is what matters the most. And the illustration on the last 2 pages shows all of the friends looking out from the page to the reader. And the last sentence reinforces the message of the book that our friends learned, that their talents are best when they are fantastically themselves and not someone else. And I would add that all the friends are fantastically me, the title of the book. I think it is a charming book, and I like the way they set it up with the action and then the learning of the talent not to be like someone else. Be yourself. I guess the whole book could be summed up: be yourself. That in 2 words: be yourself. That is a very, very positive message, and that's what Fred Rogers did with this program. Be who you are, and the message was was almost in every program, some ways subtle, and sometimes not so subtle. But I learned a lot working for Fred Rogers those many years. You know, I feel I don't have, but I feel I have a degree in child development from working with him and learning so much, because you know he studied child development and as well as theology and as well as music and all those disciplines he worked into the program. And this story is, I think he would enjoy reading it.
And it's interesting, David, and thank you for the encapsulation of Fantastically Me. There's so much to love about this book. The fact that in many respects that Sharmilla in her own way is paying homage and respect to Mr. Rogers and Mr. Rogers' neighbor, but she's also blazing her own trail at the same
time. Yes. And Fred would like that. He would say, yes, don't be like me. Blaze your own trail. That is the perfect description of what she's doing, I think.
And in the story, just as in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, every episode that Fred, throughout the program in different ways, and especially at the end of the program, he would always mention, you know, I like you just the way that you are. And there was that repetition, right? Each and every episode, each and every college commencement speech, every time Fred went into a children's hospital, I'm sure, there was that same healthy repetition, because children's minds and hearts are like sponges. They pick up on everything. And especially for us as adults, you know, if we're moving through some sort of healing, whether it be from the loss of a loved one, maybe we had experienced some sort of, you know, abuse during childhood, right? There is still the part of us, a large part of us that as adults that need to hear those sorts of positive reinforcing messages. And it's interesting too, because again, if you remember the neighborhood of make-believe, right? You had X the owl, you had Henrietta Pussycat, you had different animal characters, right? And so when you have the talent show, you see again, there's Lexi Lemure and Marcus Monkey and Ethan Elephant and Zazie Zebra and James Joey and Frederick Flamingo. And then of course we have Kane Kamehameha.
You did that very well.
Thank you. So there is again, like one of the cool things about being a kid is that you have your own sovereignty. And even us as adults, like we can choose our favorite animal. So it's interesting, you know, in going through all of the characters, you know, I love zebras on my, so, you know, I have a special place in my heart for Zazie Zebra, but I also love elephants. After having the opportunity, this is how things will come full circle, having the opportunity to be able to work with Sharon Hampson, 1/3 of the iconic children's musical group, Sharon, Lois, and Bram, and her daughter Randi, for their national media tour for the release of the new Sharon, Lois, and Bram vinyl, Elephant Showstoppers. Elephants have started to become a little bit more in my consciousness over the course of these past several months. But again, the book, Sharmilla's book, is not necessarily reinventing the wheel.
No.
But in many respects, it is, again, sharing a message in a very important way at a very important time. Because again, you know, right now we're in that sweet spot. We're past the start of the back to school season, but we're heading into the holiday season. And this could be times where, let's say, for example, if there is a child whose parents are not financially well off, and if they see their friends have all of the big, you know, Hanukkah and Christmas presents, they could feel bad about themselves, right? And we're also still in the midst of there's a lot of sports happening at an elementary school level. So you have football. We're going to be heading into the start of the basketball season. There might be some star athletes, and then there might be some kids who might not necessarily be as good at sports as some of their peers, right? But it's important. One of the things that Fantastically Me is reminding us that we all have our own, and not only our own inherent worth and value, but our own inherent gifts as well, too. So just because you might not be able to play the clarinet. There's likely, one or two other things that that you can do. And just imagine, David, if we all had the same skills, gifts, and talents, if every one of us was just like a carbon copy of one another, one, that would be very boring.
Yes.
Very scary at the exact same particular point in time. But being able to, take that message that children hear and they're exposed to, and even us as adults, to the point where it's almost become a tape in our heads. I am not enough. Sharmilla, in addition to Sharmini and Sylvia, they are helping us to flip that script. Children and parents, children and adults alike, to say not only I am enough, but I am worthy. I have value. I love myself. One of the last things that I wanted to mention about this book, there's almost like childlike affirmations, because there's something about an affirmation when you say something. Sometimes there's the expression, you have to fake it until you make it. But eventually, when you take the time to repeat something, eventually the words become the belief. And then the belief becomes follow through when you know that you love yourself. When you love yourself, you give yourself as much sleep as you can. You take the time to go for walks or work out at the gym. You cook good food for yourself. But if anything, the most important thing is that you're very kind and gentle and loving for yourself. So this is a book that's not only meant for kids, but especially parents of kids, and even maybe those adults who might not necessarily, have children, but they're doing their part to heal the relationship with their own inner child. Every single person that is out there can benefit in some way, shape, or form from Fantastically Me, David.
Well, I agree. And as you said earlier, they may not be reinventing the wheel, but they certainly are reinforcing the wheel with Fantastically Me. And bravo.
Yes, and
we did all we can get.
If you love Fantastically Me and the messages within that we have shared, you can head on over to Amazon.com if that's your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. You can leave a 5-star review for Fantastically Me. That's just one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Sharmilla, in addition to Sharmini and Sylvia, letting them know that they're doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books. If you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstores, we like to say here in the program, David, remember, they are the pillars of our community.
That's right.
Local libraries and children's and independent bookstores. If they do not stock their copies of Fantastically Me, make that kind recommendation. Let them know that you heard about it right here on episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. And again, just so much to be able to enjoy from Fantastically Me. And the last thing that I'll mention, David, well, two things. One is that you can also head on over to Sharmilla's official website, which is bfgminds.com. That stands for Books for Growing Minds.com. This is a book that you can keep revisiting over and over and over and over again. This is a book that, you go back to Mike the Tough Little Tugboat. Was that your favorite book, if I'm not
mistaken?
It
was at one time.
Yes. And so this can become, the Mike the Tough Little, that was the full name of the book, if I'm not mistaken.
But Mike the Tough Little Tugboat was my favorite book when I was a kid. I'd always go to the library and head right for the children's department, and if it were out, I would be upset. I'd have to put it on hold from when I came back again. Please don't let it go. I'm going to put my name on it. And my mother always took me once a week to the library, and I think that was a big influence on me for liking to read. I still read books, and I would rather read a book holding it in my hand, a book, as opposed to reading it on a iPhone or an iPad.
Oh, totally. I agree.
But if that's the case, if you only have an iPad, It's still important. That's important too, to read that book. It's reading that counts, I think.
Agreed.
And as you said a little earlier, and I just reminded me of what Fred said, if you like yourself, you will like others. And that was, I've always remembered that. And he said that on the program. He reminded his audience of that a lot. Anyhow, we're now on to another book, right?
Yes. So the trolley has traveled again, for those who are keeping score at home, San Diego to Pittsburgh to Rochester. And then we head north of the border to one of my favorite cities in the entire world. And that is the beautiful city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And it's very interesting because there is a special connection that Fred Rogers has with the city of Toronto. Would you like to let our friends and neighbors know a little bit about, because, people might think that, Fred was born and raised in Pittsburgh, and that's true. And Mr. Rogers' Neighbor was produced and recorded in Pittsburgh. But Toronto has a very important connection to the program as well as to the life of Fred.
Yes, actually, the first appearance of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with Fred actually on camera happened in Canada on the CBC. That's where Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood really began. And it ran for about 2 years on the CBC. And then he came back to Pittsburgh because his children were ready for school. And I'm leaving some of the story out, but then along came a wonderful company by the name of Sears Roebuck and Company. Yep. They've since had some bad times, but they, for 25 years, underwrote our program. And we were able to keep Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood going for 25 years. And then PBS stations kicked in and other underwriters helped, and we did 10 more years of programs. So altogether, there are 35 years of programs produced in the United States, but the first 2 or 3 years and the beginning was Canada. And Fred loved, as you just said, one of Fred's favorite cities was Toronto. He loved Canada, but he wanted his kids to go to school in Pittsburgh, where they were. He wanted them to grow up there, so Pittsburgh became the home.
You might be wondering, wow, how things come full circle and why we're bringing up Toronto. Well, if you are a child of the 80s or a child of the 90s, you remember Sharon, Lois, and Bram. And more than likely, you remember the iconic anthem, Skinnamarink. And of course, the song just rolls off the tip of your tongue, especially, again, if you were a child of the 80s or 90s. Skinnamarinky dinky dink, Skinnamarinky doo, I love you. And then the song continues, and we'll be sharing more about that. So again, the most beloved children's entertainers in history. They've sold over 3 million albums, received countless awards, and thanks to our friends and neighbors at Penguin Random House Canada, forever immortalized, the iconic anthem Skinnamarink is now a children's book. And this is Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Skinnamarink with Randi Hampson, who, of course, is Sharon's amazing daughter, who is keeping the torch alive, the memory, the legacy of Sharon, Lois, and Bram. And the illustrations by Xin Ling, who has done an incredible job as well with the illustrations of the book, bringing this to life. And it's interesting, David, because having the opportunity to travel across the country with Sharon and Randi, celebrating the release of Sharon, Lois, and Bram's new vinyl, Elephant Showstoppers, which, by the way, if you are watching this either via the official PR from the Heart website or the PR from the Heart YouTube channel, you can stay connected with PR from the Heart's official social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and X, all at PR from the Heart. And you can watch any of the amazing interviews, including Sharon Hampson's in-studio interviews with NBC New York's New York Live and NBCLA's California Live, but they had the opportunity to be in New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Boston, and Pittsburgh as well, too. We celebrated, I should say, Skinnamarink Day at the KDKA studios at CBS Pittsburgh. But there is obviously a generation that is now just being introduced to Sharon, Lois, and Bram. And I believe according to Bram now, it is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations of children have been introduced and have been enjoying the music, the timeless music, the magical music of Sharon, Lois, and Bram. But one of the cool things about this, and again, special thanks to our neighbors at Tundra Books and Penguin Random House Canada, Sharon has mentioned in several interviews that if it wasn't for the illustrations, that the book would be a pamphlet. Because, when you take a look at the lyrics of the song, right, it's a matter of how do you turn a beloved song into a children's book? And it's a little bit of a process, David. But we're going to take the time and we're going to crack the cover and we're going to dive inside the pages. So colorful, so vibrant. Again, Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Skinnamarink with Randi Hampson. David, feel free to take it away as we now go inside the pages of Skinnamarink, our second and final book that we're reviewing and spotlighting on episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast.
Well, I'll do my best to take it away. And if it were a pamphlet, it would still be a charming story. I want to say that much. But Quinn Ling's illustrations just add so much to it. It's just a lovely book. So I'll start because there was a preface, and it says, "To all children and families who have come together to sing Skinnamarink." And I bet you, if you had to count everyone who has sung Skinnamarink over the years, it would be millions. I would venture maybe even it comes up to the billions. In fact, I am sure that is one of the most popular songs ever written. I don't know if it's ever been tracked, but I think it is. It might be just as popular as Stardust. If you know what Stardust is by Hoagie Carmichael, one of the most recorded songs. I think Skinnamarink is right up there. Well, there is a page that says that Sharon, Lois, and Bram started singing the song in their first concert in 1978 and never stopped. Skinnamarink has come to symbolize friendship, joy, and love. And this is all in the preface of the book. Well, the book opens with an illustration showing human families and animal families all sitting on the ground, some with picnic lunches, listening to the trio sing. And it goes something like, "Here's a little ditty that we all know and sing. We share it with our families and let our voices ring. It also has some actions that we know are fun to do. And now we want to sing this special song with you." And that's how it opens. And the book begins with the song, with the various characters going through the actions as they sing the song. Skinnamarink, 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 I love you. That's on a separate page, and they're all going through their different actions. And I'm not describing this as beautifully as the book is, but I'll do my best. The illustrations and the song, it was just a lovely book. And I like how the reader is encouraged to join in and sing the song as you're going through the book. Not only is it fun for the reader to do the movements, but it also the reader can catch the joy of reading and of books. One of the messages of the book is reading books is fun. I think that is an important message that goes through all of this. Well, the following pages illustrate the song. For instance, "I Love You in the Morning" shows pancakes being cooked and served to both children and animals. And this is right in the kitchen, and the animals are there with the children, and they're parents are making pancakes, and that is a way of saying, I love you, the eating way. And the next page shows some adults enjoying seeing children at play in a playground. And this is captioned by "and in the afternoon," another lyrics from the song. And I enjoyed looking at the illustrations. There's a lot going on in this particular. You see seesaws, slides, and climbing. And in one corner, there is a child in a wheelchair with a friend, and they are giving water to the birds from a fountain. And this is it. You have to look at the different, everything's going on in these pages, and it's remarkable. You can spend time. It's almost like Where's Waldo. You have to see everything. You miss things. Oh, and there's even a flag that is flying in the playground, has an illustration of a bird with just a flag that has these little touches that I love. And in the background, while all this is going on, there is an adult supervising all of this, watching the children. It's just not children playing by themselves. It's important to see that there are a few adults supervising the play. Now, the other lyric, I love you in the evening, is illustrated by children getting a bath just before bedtime, and a lot of activities going on in this bathroom. The parents are drying off one child, and the other is still splashing in the bathtub. And the mice are having a field day, so to speak. They're jumping from a shelf above the bathtub into the bathtub, as well as scurrying around the bathroom. So I imagine in this house, all the animals are accepted, whether mice or chipmunks or whatever. They're all incorporated. Oh, Underneath the Moon, another lyric shows a family camping in the woods, and Dad is playing a guitar singing, and I imagine he's singing the Skinnamarink song. Oh, the next two pages has all the animals and the people doing the various movements to Skinnamarink Dinky. I love that the girl in the wheelchair was included in this illustration. Everybody's doing the movements, and the girl is in the wheelchair doing some movements.
Agreed.
And she was not off to one side, but an active participant in the movements. And I think that's very important to have the inclusion. I love you when you are happy. That's another lyric, shows a girl celebrating her birthday with her friends. And on the next page, when you're feeling blue, shows a mom comforting a child, holding an umbrella over the child's head because it's raining. And I think the rain may be making the child sad. So I love you when you're happy, and I love you when you are sad. Oh, and when you are feeling grumpy, another lyric is illustrated by a small boy hiding in a storage closet underneath the steps in the living room. And the father is bringing the boy his dinner. And this is being observed by a polar bear, it looks like, and a duck and various other animals. Right in the house, there's no separation of animals. They're all included in the story in the house, as if the polar bear, the ducks, the chipmunks all live in the same house as the humans. That I like. I think that's a lot of fun. Oh, and the next page it says, I'll give you a hug to you. And it shows the polar bear, the duck, giving the boy and the family a big hug. Oh, the book continues by showing everyone doing the dinky do, and that's on another page with everybody's doing the dinky do. I love your movements, and I am sure that the reader is joining in singing the song. You know, when you see these, you have to see the page with everybody doing it, and I'm sure that the reader is singing along with the people and doing the movements. Well, let's see what happened. I have another note here. Oh, as you mentioned earlier, the illustrator, Quinn Ling, has another wonderful work of art. And it's a classroom with a teacher and pupils and a huge world globe. And this is for the lyrics. I love you in the Arctic, the desert, by the sea. There is so much going on in the illustration that if I were reading the book to a child, it would be a time to stop and look at all that's happening in those pictures. The rabbit, mice, ducks, and birds, children all doing various things in that illustration. It'd be great to just stop and say, now, what do you think's going on in the corner over there? What are the mice doing? And what are the rabbits doing? And that, I think, involves the parent reading the book, the grown-up reading the book to the child. And that, I'll stop here and give a little, what Fred would always say, that it's not is the importance of reading. It's not so much what you're reading, but it's the closeness that you are with that child. They remember the love that the parent is giving by reading the book. So the reading the book is the connection from the parent to the child. And not only is reading important just to be able to read, but it also enables it to make a wonderful connection between parents or caregivers. Now, let me see. I have lost my way here, and I'm trying to catch up.
You left off with, and on the top of the mountain standing next to me.
Oh,
and
yes.
And then, of course, we head into the Skinnamarink.
Yeah, that was what I was going to do next, because the children were all busy in the classroom, and that's where I'd stop and ask what they're doing. And on the top of the mountain, standing next to me, is an imaginative scene. The mountain is furniture and luggage piled high with two girls sitting on top of the mountain of luggage, I call it, waving goodbye to their neighbors. Apparently, the girls' family, they're moving because there's a moving van, and it's being loaded with furniture. And again, here's some subtle touches. For instance, a little girl is offering them a pie. The people leaving, one of the little neighbor girls has a pie, and the ducks and birds are waving goodbye. And another page to stop on and try to find out all what is happening. Apparently someone's moving. So you could stop on this page and say, what do you think is going on? And where's the girl with the pie? What do you think she's doing? And it brings up a lot of conversation. And that's the importance of reading too. It could be let's see, a reason to communicate. It's that closeness I keep going back to, what reading does and how it can bring. Now we're talking about younger children, how it can bring the parent and the child together, and the symbol is the book. And we hope that symbol later on grows into the love of reading. Oh, well, okay. The next page is the reader is back singing Dinky Doo, and I love you, and then on to I love you in the summer, the fall, and winter too. And these pages show all summer and winter activities. And again, more pages to stop on.
Just to briefly hop in. It's how interesting how things come full circle, because at the beginning of the program, the beginning of the episode, we were talking about the 4 seasons.
Yes.
Spring, summer, fall, winter, and we're getting that reminder of that Sharon, Lois, and Bram and Randi are reminding us that we are loved in the summer, in the fall, the winter, and in the spring, all of the holidays.
And 24 hours a day, too, that can incorporate.
Yes.
So, again, and of course, it's another page you can stop on and try to find what's happening and have some discussion. Oh, and then, of course, we talked about the Dinky Doo. They were singing that. And, now I know. I made a note here. I also like the humor in the book. There's a lot of subtle humor. For instance, I love you in the springtime. I love you through and through has all the animals and friends riding bicycles. And the elephant seems to be on the smallest bicycle. And it seems like the wheels aren't perfectly round because of his weight. And it's a little comical to see the elephant on the bicycle not moving too speedily. uh, and I love the pages near the end of the book. It shows the entire neighborhood singing the song. It's almost like a curtain call in a way. Each character in the book appears, all singing or marching or working, but all singing the Skinnamarink Dinky Doo song. And another touch of humor shows a little boy running along and beating on a drum. As the crowds follow him, the last pages encourage the readers to sing along, and the adults in the crowd are encouraging everyone to sing. And they're saying to the children as they're walking by, I love your singing, and you're all terrific, and let's all sing together. And the last words on the page are, I love you too. But the reader turns the page, and the little boy on the drums gets the last notes of the song. He sings, boopy boo dee doo, and above, or no, boop boopy doo. I guess that's what he sings. He's singing boopy doo, and above him floats a red I love you heart. And that is the end of the book. There it is. There was a red star, close.
Well, I really took it as a little boy giving a kiss, because
yes,
that's
the heart is a symbol of that kiss, I think.
Yes.
Yes, I think you're right.
When Sharon, Lois, and Bram, whether it be on the Sharon, Lois, and Bram Elephant Show on the CBC and Nickelodeon, or whenever they would tour across the country and really across North America, that's what they would do, and that would be the big close.
Oh, okay. Well, then that is what that symbolizes. The kiss, and the heart shows it's that.
Yep.
That kiss, symbolic of the kiss. But it's a charming little boy who's playing the drums, and but I like when he says boop boopity boopy doo. That he's got the last words.
Yep.
Boop boopy doo. I guess that's what it is. Boop boopy doo.
Yep.
At any rate, it's one of those, and through here, there's a lot of words that you can point out to children. Words that are sound words like boom and splash and all of those. And I like it's a lovely book, and I'm such a fan of movies too. And I was wondering if this has ever been illustrated. Would they ever put illustrated into a film of any kind? Not that I know of. But what reminded me of that is when I opened the book, it's a long book. And when you open it up, it reminds me of a CinemaScope screen. A wide screen.
Yep.
And it reads to me like a movie or a teleplay. I love the whole thing, but it was just my imagination because I loved movies so much. I was imagining that I was seeing this on a screen as well as reading it. So a book can have so many different. It can affect you so many different ways.
So many
Each
different
person.
So many different interpretations, and that was a beautiful narration and share of Skinnamarink. And by the way, you're not too far off, because actually in the midst of what is the whole national media tour for Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Elephant Showstoppers, there is a documentary that is in the works on the lives and the careers of Sharon, Lois, and Bram, and that will be coming out at some point in time soon. Stay tuned for more details.
Oh, you mean this is a fairly new production?
So this is so it's actually like all the footage for the documentary is in the process of being shot and then put together, and it'll be coming out at some point in time in the future. Not sure if it'll be 2025 or 2026, but one of the things that really has, and we saw this with Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers documentary. Documentaries really play a very poignant role in looking back on the iconic careers and legacies of so many shining stars. We'll use the term that we use here regularly here at PR from the Heart and the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. So I cannot wait for the Sharon, Lois, and Bram documentary to come out. There is so much to enjoy from Skinnamarink, because again, one of the things you're able to see through the book, through the story, is the song. There was more lyrics that were created, because if you watched the close of every Sharon, Lois, and Bram episode, it was a very short 15 seconds, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds at the very most. So again, with having a longer form picture children's book, there were other lyrics and words that needed to be added. So for example, I love you in the summer, the fall and winter too. I love you in the springtime. I love you through and through.
True.
And then of course it goes back to, Skinnamarink dinky dink, Skinnamarink doo.
But I do think that Skinnamarink dinky doo lyrics are probably so well known to everybody.
100%.
They're a classic, and immediately when you hear that song, what book they're referring to is it's Skinnamarink doo. And I love the way it was expanded. I didn't realize that it works as a book and as a song, and I can't wait for the documentary now. I didn't know anything about that, so that's great.
How things come full circle between both books, between Fantastically Me. If you go to the end of Skinnamarink, be sure to sing this love song with everyone around. When we all sing together, it's such a lovely sound. And when I read that and when I recite that, it's a reminder that when we take the time to remember how loved we are, when we sing our own love song to ourselves each and every day, that it makes a lovely sound. And when we all sing together, my interpretation of this is when we all love ourselves individually, it's reflected collectively.
Yes,
it's such a lovely sound. So again, it's so fascinating how there are parallels to both of these stories, how there's a beautiful tapestry that's woven between both books, how there is a beautiful synergy in the process. And again, one of the things as well too, there are 2 other books that are available, and little Forrest is chiming in because he loves Skinnamarink 100%. There are 2 other books that are available. The one that of course many people connect with the most is Skinnamarink. But if you also go to the Sharon, Lois, and Bram website, you can get your copies of Peanut Butter and Jelly and One Elephant Went Out to Play. So the team at Tundra Books and Penguin Random House Canada, they have turned 3 of Sharon, Lois, and Bram's most iconic songs into children's books for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great music, those who love great children's books, to be able to enjoy. We encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars. You can head on over to Amazon.com or Amazon.ca for all of our friends and neighbors in Canada. You can, of course, purchase and enjoy your copies of Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Skinnamarink with Randi Hampson. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Sharon, Lois, and Bram, and for Randi, in addition to Quinn Ling, the illustrator of the story, is by leaving a 5-star review that lets them know that they're doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great music, those who love great children's books. If you're a child of the 80s, if you're a child of the 90s, if you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, remember they are the pillars of our community, as we always like to say here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. If they do not stock their copies of Skinnamarink, make that kind recommendation. Let them know that you heard about it right here on episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. And of course, one of the fastest growing endorsements in the world of children's literature. It's kind of similar to, but yet completely different. If you also grew up in the 80s and 90s, You remember the iconic movie critic duo Siskel and Ebert. When they loved a movie, they gave it 2 thumbs up. Well, when a children's book receives high esteem and high regard here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast and at PR from the Heart, Little Forrest proudly gives both Fantastically Me 2 paws up, in addition to Skinnamarink 2 paws up. Again, one of the fastest growing endorsements in the world of children's literature is when Little Forrest gives 2 paws up to a children's book that we are featuring here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. But again, both books, they are now available. Such important messages that we shared here on episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast as we're heading into the start of the holiday season, David. So again, when we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. David, we've shared a lot. We've opened up our hearts. We've connected with our emotions and feelings. We're remembering our worth. We're remembering our value. We're remembering so much, and we're passing along these messages to the next generation. We're passing along the messages to the youth of today, to the children, of course, who really are our future. What are a couple of takeaways, or even one singular takeaway that you will take away from episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast? What did you learn today?
Well, I learned, or maybe it was reinforced, how much fun I had reading both of these books. And I think that I now realize how much fun the authors must have had writing the songs and the book, and how much fun it is to write, but how much fun it is to be able to enjoy writing. You don't have to be a writer, but I just hope that through our bookcast, that the love of reading is instilled in our viewers. I just hope that happens. And that's why we keep doing this. If we do it enough times, maybe we'll pick up another million readers.
Well, it's interesting, David, because just like the reinforcing that we've given for nearly 4 years on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, it's similar to what Sharmilla mentioned, the anthem throughout the course of Fantastically Me, which once again, if you're scoring at home, each of the animal characters, they realize that their talents are best when they are fantastically themselves and not anyone else. And it's interesting because as we're closing out, we're putting the bow on episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. Every year I get Fred Rogers calendars, the little desktop calendar.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I have a passage here that literally has been on my office desk for God knows how long. And this is a quote from Fred. And it's interesting because we felt his presence and his spirit. And I think this is a message that really comes from his heart. The world needs a sense of worth, and it will achieve it only by its people feeling that they are worthwhile.
That is so true. If you love yourself, you'll love others. And Fred reinforced that for years and years, and it's still. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, by the way, is available on Pluto streaming.
We actually had the chance when we were having dinner not that long ago, when I was in Pittsburgh visiting, we actually watched about 3 minutes of an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on Pluto TV. And it's literally a 24-hour Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood channel.
You can get up at 3 a.m. and watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and then go to your computer and watch the bookcast.
Yes. It's so interesting how there's this beautiful synergy. Well, again, and one of the many ways where are my manners? If you raise your hand if you have had fun here on episode number 4 of the Neighborly Review.
Hands, huh?
Hands from David, hands from myself, hands from the little ones on screen, paws up from Little Forrest. As we like to say, that means mission accomplished, job well done. But again, fear not, there are many more magical trolley stops to come on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. We're going to put a pin in that. We're going to circle back to that momentarily. If the messages that we have shared from Fantastically Me and Skinnamarink, if they have turned that frown upside down, if they've lifted your spirits, if anything you say, David and John, now I know my worth. I know my value. I am lovable just the way that I am, that I am perfect, whole, healthy, and complete just the way that I am. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for us here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, for us here at PR From the Heart, and for Sharon, Lois, and Bram, and Randi, and for Sharmilla, Sharmini, and Sylvia, all of the wonderful components of episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. Subscribe to PR From the Heart's official YouTube channel if you haven't had the chance to do so. Share this very special trolley stop that you have enjoyed. That has been episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. And again, by subscribing to PR From the Heart's official YouTube channel, you can join the more than 20,000 subscribers via our official YouTube channel, the loyal members of the PR From the Heart family. Once again, we want to thank you for your continued support of the program here in the process. And we also want to thank you for your continued support of Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh. As we mentioned at the very beginning of the program, since day one, we have been proud and privileged and blessed to be able to pledge our support as we can for Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh. They are the Pittsburgh chapter, the Pittsburgh affiliate of the largest national non-for-profit children's literacy organization in the country. Did you know that last year alone, Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh gave more than 100,000 children's books to over 23,000 children in need in Pittsburgh? When it comes to not only helping children who come from low-income families connect to the love and joy of reading, not only giving them the resources of care that are children's books, but being able to connect them with literacy tools and even just upliftment overall, because there really is, research has proven that there is a correlation between strong reading skills and strong self-confidence. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh, the most important way is by heading on over to their official website, rifpittsburgh.org/donate. Remember, no donation is too large, no donation is too small, especially as we head into the holiday season, David. There are many children that will unfortunately not have the gift of reading. They will not have children's books under the tree or in their stockings or as their Hanukkah gifts. So again, by being able to pledge your support, especially during the upcoming holiday season, it really does mean a lot to the city of Pittsburgh, to families that are hard hit in the Pittsburgh area, and to the team at Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh. But David, as we shift gears now, one of my favorite times of the year, it actually happens twice per year, where we're going to be, I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be hopping aboard the trolley that's going to transform into an airplane, and I'll be back in Pittsburgh. We are going to be recording our November and December in-studio episodes of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast with our friends and neighbors at the Center for Media Innovation in downtown Pittsburgh on the campus of Point Park University, one of the most beautiful broadcasting university schools in the country. So we're going to be celebrating the entire holiday season, David. We're going to be celebrating Thanksgiving. We're going to be celebrating Hanukkah and Christmas. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe one of the two of us is going to be celebrating a birthday, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's not you, so.
I just celebrated mine in August.
November 24th. I was born on Thanksgiving, they tell me. And every so often it falls on Thanksgiving, except for this year. But November 24th, I'll be celebrating. So we can go out for some delicacy somewhere.
And you are going to be turning 60.
Yes, I'll be turning 60. And leave it at that.
So again, you can stay connected with PR From the Heart via our official website and YouTube channel. And of course, you can enjoy, we've got a lot of fun stuff planned for episodes number 43 and 44 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. But again, if you are a children's author and you have your brand new children's book that either has been released or is coming out in 2025, if you would like for David and I to be able to deliver a heartfelt review of your brand new children's book on a forthcoming episode of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast in 2025. It's hard to believe. We're already saying 2025. You can head on over to our official website, prfromtheheart.com, or you can connect with us via our social media platforms that you now see on screen. Instagram, Facebook, X, all at PR From the Heart. Of course, we also want to give a little tip of the cap as well to the sister program of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, which is the Children's Book Spotlight series. We are super excited because we actually just celebrated our 225th episode of the Children's Book Spotlight series. We're looking forward to new episodes of the program as part of PR from the Heart's holiday season. So if you are a children's or middle grade author and would love to not only have your brand new children's book be featured, but also have a sit-down one-on-one conversation, because I absolutely love doing the Children's Book Spotlight series as much as I love doing the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, two things that are very near and dear to my heart. You can head on over again to our official website, prfromtheheart.com. And of course, you can also connect with us via our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and X. And again, the top celebrity children's authors such as Craig Melvin from NBC's Today Show, ESPN's Elle Duncan, the top New York Times bestselling children's authors from Brad Meltzer and Peter H. Reynolds, and so many more. In addition to the rising stars, the shining stars in the world of children's literature, we're looking forward to be able to connecting with many of you. And of course, for all children's authors whose books are being released, not only now, but in 2025, it's important that you have a plan. When you start the new year, not even but even before when you start the new year, when you're ending the new year, you want to have a plan moving forward. We have been privileged and blessed and honored to be of service to some of the top names, the biggest names in the world of children's literature, from the iconic Sharon, Lois and Bram, again, Skinnamarinky Dinky Dink, Skinnamarink do, to John Parra, to Catherine Roy, who very soon I feel will be winning a Caldecott, to some of the amazing shining stars in the world of children's literature whose journeys are just taking flight. All year long, we've been celebrating the 10-year anniversary of PR from the Heart. When the calendar flips in January, we head into technically we are already now in our 11th year of service to children's authors across the country and around the world. So again, if you are a children's or middle grade author and are looking for dedicated PR support to share the release of your new book with children, parents, families, and educators through the media. If you would like to facilitate a book media tour in a city of your choosing or a national book media tour, head on over to our official website, prfromtheheart.com, schedule your courtesy connection call, and let us see how we can be of service to you. One final time, Fantastically Me, co-authored by Sharmilla Fassbender and Sharmini Selvanathan, in addition to the illustrations by Sylvia Fassbender, Sharon, Lois and Bram's Skinnamarink with Randi Hampson, illustrated by Chin Ling. They are both now available. Again, if Amazon.com is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, remember to leave those 5-star reviews for Fantastically Me and Skinnamarink, letting, of course, Sharmilla, Sharmini, Sylvia, Sharon, Bram, Randi, Chin, letting them know that they're all doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books in the process. And this has been so much fun. But as I like to say, again, there are many more magical trolley stops to come. And remember, again, if you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, they're the pillars of our community. Again, that positive reinforcement. If you take away from the Bookcast after watching it more than enough times, you're going to say, that's right, David and John. Local libraries and children's and independent bookstores are the pillars of our community. But again, if you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, they do not stock their copies of Fantastically Me or Skinnamarink. Make that kind recommendation. Let them know that you heard about it right here on episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. But again, we've heard the trolley. It's been very patient. So we want to thank you for your continued support of PR from the Heart, for your continued support of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, for your continued support of children's authors and children's illustrators across the country and around the world, such as Sharmilla Fassbender and Sharmini Selvanathan and Sylvia Fassbender and Sharon and Bram. We remember the late Lois from Sharon, Lois and Bram, in addition to Chin Ling. Again, they're reminding us, we're reminding them that they're doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. For your continued support of local libraries and children's and independent bookstores, once again, that positive repetition, they are the pillars of our community. But above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world one last time. We felt his presence and his spirit, maybe stronger than ever before, in episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. And of course, we remember the late Fred Rogers. And in many ways, shapes, and forms, through his time on the neighborhood, college commencement speeches, whenever he was out and about, he reminded us of our inherent worth and our inherent value. And interestingly enough, as the great journalist Tom Junod said, that in his own private numerology, Mr. Rogers reminded us of that through his natural-born weight walking this earthly plane. Did you know that Mr. Rogers weighed 143 pounds? He found the fountain of youth in many respects. There's one letter in I, there's 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. So it's a little tip of the cap to Mr. Rogers. There's a little tip of the cap to David, being kind enough to, again, as always, spend some quality time with us here in our neighborhood. It's a little tip of the cap to little Forrest. It's a little tip of the cap to Sharmilla and to Sharon, Lois, and Bram, and Randi. We are sharing our favorite 3 numbers of 243. There's 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. And 3 letters in you. That is our reminder to you that you are loved, that you are whole, that you are healthy, that you are complete, that we like you and we love you just the way that you are. We see your inherent worth. We see your divine value, and you can fully receive that now. Breathe that in. It is yours. So for David Newell, for Little Forrest, for myself, John Masiulionis, we hope that you've enjoyed the month of October. We hope that you have enjoyed episode number 42 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. The next time you see us, we're not going to be the 2 squares on a screen. Back-to-back months with our friends and neighbors at the Center for Media Innovation in downtown Pittsburgh. We'll be spending the holidays in the Steel City. So come join us for episode number 43 and 44. We look forward to spending the holiday season with all of you as we continue the 10-year anniversary celebration of PR from the Heart and close out the final 2 months of 2024. Thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Skinnamarink dinky dink, Skinnamarink doo.